silence. Anticipation is the level. Oh, goodness! That ball had a family!
Welcome back to High Socks, episode 8, Low IQ High Socks. We are here to talk about our Cincinnati Reds drowning currently under 500, getting beat up by the White Sox. Guys, how are we feeling?
To tell you the truth, I don't care at all about the Reds right now. I don't know how you guys feel. Every time I look at the box score, they're either they can't get a hit like the 7th inning. They have 1 hit, no runs. Third day in a row. I think there are 20 innings right now, something like that, without scoring a run. Or no, that was snapped with the 1 run the other night, but they were at 20 innings. But yeah, it's pretty shitty right now, to say the least.
That's not the only reason, Ben, that you're not interested in Reds baseball. And we've hinted at it before, but it's playoff hockey season. And so you've been kind of preoccupied with a little bit of that.
But this season was supposed to be one of the most anticipated Red seasons in a long time with the hiring of Tito. When he got hired, I was super hyped. And then Ellie coming in for his this is his third season? Third season?
Third season?
Yeah, you'd think he was going to make major strides, be a superstar shortstop. Hunter Green, I mean, they had all the pieces that we thought. They had all the pieces on paper to be a great team. So far, they have not shown up. And I know I said in the group chat yesterday, this is their 12th year in a row being under 500 at the 40 game mark, which is just every single year they start out slow. It's the same shit over and over again.
Yeah. I think what you said the other day really rings true as well, is that the expectations were set higher than they've been in a while. Because we have Ellie, coming back. He's sharing the cover of MLB The Show 25, which it's like the Reds name is kind of floating around as this dark horse contender for being able to make a playoff run, being able to be a competitive team. You get Tito, of course, and you get a couple guys like McLean coming back, and Hunter Green was, he's past his formative years, I think, at this point, and he was pretty strongly the Reds ace. And I mean, not even to mention that Hunter Green's now on the IL with a grade 1 strain, I think is what it is. But we're seeing this team struggle in ways that I think most people would expect we wouldn't be seeing again this year. We're seeing this kind of lazy, husk of a team right now, which we were used to at this point, but this year should have been different, right?
It feels, we're used to it. We should be used to it, but it feels different this year just because they brought in the Hall of Fame manager. But so far, even he can't save the Reds. It just falls on the owners. Time and time again, they have refused to spend money, significant money. This is them going all in, and I know I said it before to us. I don't see it changing. Maybe they'll go on a hot streak like they did a couple years ago and win 7-8 in a row, be 5 games over. But inevitably they're going to come back and just be that middling 500 team.
Yeah, the Reds are not what we'd expect. They never are, to be quite frank. This feels a little bit more of a disaster this year. Granted, given what Ben said. We do have a pretty big episode today. We're going to be talking about a lot of things. We're going to be talking about the Guardians series coming up, which I thought would be fun with Tito having a illustrious career over there. But we're bringing our friend Drew on to discuss a little bit. I thought it would be fun for us, but at the same time, now with how the Reds are doing, I don't think I could really care any less about this series coming up in Cleveland. So Going to be interesting from the Tito perspective, I guess. But, you know, I guess that's the one angle we can look at. Drew is going to give us some insight a little bit later on about what he thinks about Tito, about the Reds, about the current Guardians team, who I think are kind of decent this year. I have to check, but
I think they're like 24-17 or something like that.
yeah, I mean, just that
Like, where you
Cleveland team
wanna be.
is they're always in it. They're always in the conversation. They're always kind of you expect them to kind of get to the playoffs. So it's going to be kind of interesting that conversation. But I do want to pivot back to what we were just talking about because I think it's really important to stress the challenges of this team always are going to start at the GM level, at the ownership level. No matter who it is as manager, it doesn't matter if it's David Bell, Brian Price, Tito Francona. It starts with Crawl and the Castellinis, like
Forgot one more.
100%. What? Tell me one.
Forgot the most important one, Jim
Absolutely.
Riggleman.
Jim Riggleman, interim manager Jim Riggleman,
kicking up
so
dust.
I don't know what he's up to. I think he was like a hitting coach or bench coach on some team somewhere. I don't know. But I think that speaking to that point, this is a plague in baseball right now. It is a massive issue with small market teams, mid market teams continuously underperforming. And it's gotten even to the point where I think we're headed in a really dark place with baseball, even darker than the dead ball era or the steroid era, even though that was pretty fun. This is going to be a future of baseball that just remains anti-competitive. Just this other day, we saw a story about the Pirates being one of the most profitable teams in baseball. And you look at that team every year and you say, this is dog shit. This is a horrible entertainment.
They're
It's
worse than
not
the Reds.
fun. They're worse than
Oh,
the
yeah.
Reds. I think they've made the playoffs twice in 30 years or something, maybe something like that. And they're the most profitable, one of the most profitable teams in baseball because they don't spend money. They hoard the money. They get the ticket sales, they get their merch sales, whatever. And that's enough to turn a ludicrous profit. Bob Nutting is probably like one of the wealthiest men in the country. And that is such a dark place for baseball to see that being incentivized to such a high fucking degree. So I don't think we can expect the Castellinis or anybody else in a small market to make those moves given the incentive that they have to lose and to be anti-competitive. So now we're looking at a future where it's the competitive pool is going to grow even smaller or shrink to an even smaller level. We're going to see the same teams over and over again. And we, as Reds fans, as baseball fans, are going to be stuck at the bottom rung of baseball competition. And we're going to be on the outside looking in for the foreseeable future.
Mhm. And
It
you
sucks.
can expect anything to happen based upon, the commissioner, Rob Manfred, who, breaking news as of earlier this week, actually of yesterday, of the day of this recording, made Pete Rose eligible for the Hall of Fame, months after his death now. I've seen this story spoken about. I've seen the Reds post about this, saying how thankful they are about this opportunity. But I think the way that my brain, kind of reached this conclusion yesterday is still how I feel, and that I would be clapping if this was because of a new commissioner, who comes in and instates this and makes Pete Rose eligible for the Hall of Fame, something that he should have been eligible for, um, not after his death. He's one of the greatest baseball players ever, and he will be probably forever. Uh, so we're gonna expect this guy who's making these boneheaded decisions. He's waiting for people to die to make the right decision, to now make the right decision for small market teams, for small market fans. I'm not holding my breath. We're kind of like waiting for an opportunity, like what the Nationals had in 2019, where they just happened to kind of fall into this team of all stars and of future Hall of Fame players of Juan Soto and Bryce Harper and Scherzer to take them all the way. And what's happened to that team since? They haven't been a tenth of competitive as they were that year when they made that magical run. So that's every small market team's hope, is that we can just fall into great players at the right time before we have to pay them. That's been the Reds' strategy for 15 years. And it's
Look at the
just
Royals.
what's that?
The Royals,
Oh
2014
yeah.
and 15, they go back-to-back World Series. They win one. Literally nothing since. They've
Mhm.
just been horrible.
Right. And they can have like the Reds or like the Royals can have a talented young player become a part of that organization and bring a lot of fans to it, bring a lot of hope to that team. But that's gonna run out very quickly, and we all know that people like Ellie or Bobby Witt are going to eventually get paid by a large market team after their rookie contract is over. It's just gonna happen, and then we're back to square one. So the rich get richer.
Yep. And that's the unfortunate thing. I think a few years ago, Chris Bassett said he was, I can't remember what team, the Blue Jays. He was coming over from the Mets, and he was saying during that Verlander period with Scherzer Verlander period with the Mets, he was saying on the Chris Rose rotation podcast that it would be a shame for baseball if the Mets didn't make the playoffs because it de-incentivizes spending. And then you see a team like the Rays, who are a kind of an anomaly, make the playoffs on a shoestring budget. And I just remember those words, Chris Bassett saying, if the Mets don't make the playoffs this year, that's bad for baseball because it gives the incentive to other teams or de-incentivizes teams from spending the money. So I just thought that always kind of rung with me. But the point is, when you want to compete in baseball, you have to absolutely spend money. And we can talk all day about the Castellinis being horrible owners, but they have no incentive. There's just no incentive. It needs to come from the commissioner. It needs to come from the league. But they're all in bed together, of course. You know, this is a billionaire helping billionaire type of project. It's a socialism for billionaires, if you will. So there's not going to be any urge or any hurry to make this game more competitive. And it absolutely sucks to be a Reds fan because of that.
But
It just
even when the Reds do spend money, they're incompetent of finding the right player to even spend the money on. Like they paid what Mustakas
oh
$60
god.
million, absolutely horrible. And now they've done the same contract basically for Candelario, horrible.
Akiyama 21 million for 4 years or something like that.
Like 20 million for the Reds, like that's like a big contract. For other
Mhm.
teams, it's like nothing. Like, but when the Reds do spend their quote unquote big money, like I said, they miss. They I don't trust the Reds front office at all.
Can I ask
I
you a
don't.
question? Can I interrupt you real quick?
Yeah, go for it.
What do you think about Nick Kroll? We've seen enough of him, I think, over the years to make a decision on Nick Kroll.
I think he's good at his job, but he's also held back again by the owners. He doesn't have the money to spend. But again, I've seen enough of him. I would be super happy if he was just let go and they found somebody else. But that's not going to happen because they're not going to find somebody who's better. They're probably just going to find somebody who's been with the Reds organization for the last 10 years, promote him, and the cycle repeats.
Yeah.
Sucks.
It sucks. It really does suck. It's sort of one of those things where I just feel like our hands are tied behind our back. You can't really discuss the merits of this team because it's immediately and consistently being held back right when the year begins. So it's unfortunate. And I do want to get on the Pete Rose thing because I think this is kind of ties into it, and John already alluded to it. Obviously, Pete Rose, one of the best baseball players who's ever lived. His hit record still isn't broken. Probably won't be broken for another couple decades.
If ever.
If ever. Obviously, it's cool to see him get the opportunity to be in the league or in the Hall of Fame. But my issue is with this commissioner statement and how it was done. Right, he passes away, and a few months later, he has eligibility. okay, you know, we have gambling all across baseball. We've talked about that before. But the commissioner, Rob Manfred, made a statement that really didn't sit right with me. I think it really was frustrating, and I'll read it right here. It's just a little quote. Once an individual has passed away, the purposes of Rule 21 have been served. Rule 21, I think, is the ban on baseball. Obviously, a person no longer with us cannot represent a threat to the integrity of the game. What do you guys think about that statement?
I it's it sounds like a cop out. It sounds like he's trying to win both sides over with you know for Pete Rose, I don't know how many naysayers truly exist. Not like people like Alex Rodriguez or like Barry Bonds or McGuire or people like that who cheated during their time playing.
Mm,
I don't know what the crossover is of hatred of players and fans like that, but it seems like he's trying to say like, hey, we're sticking to our guns and that someone broke the rules and so
mhm.
they don't deserve that. But it's Pete Rose, and everyone who pays attention slightly to baseball understands that he did not ruin the game. He did not threaten the integrity of the game. And Mitch, like you've mentioned it over and over with how much betting and gambling has been a part of sports and baseball for the past couple of years now. So it's a bit of a slap in the face to both sides of the coin. If you hate him, you don't like that he's now eligible and that he's probably now going to get in the next round of voting. And I mean, Ben, you're given a face. You don't think that's possible? I
I don't
mean,
know. I mean, he's eligible, obviously now that he's reinstated, but he still has to be voted in. And these voters, I don't know if they're pretty old school. I don't know if they'll
mm,
vote him in. I mean, I hope they do. Honestly, the Pete Rose subject, it's been beaten to death. I'm sick and tired of hearing and talking about it. I just hope he gets in and then we never have to bring it up again. Honestly, if he gets voted in, then that's what's happening. It'll just be a guy in the Hall of Fame that we don't have to talk about. And that's really what I hope. But it's like really hypocritical of the like the Red Sports Network is FanDuel Sports. Like everything's gambling related. And
mm,
I don't know. It's just
You could bet in the stadium in some
yeah.
stadiums.
And then every like
yeah.
pregame, they got like a pregame wager with like that's gonna if it's
Mhm.
gonna hit or not. I'm like sick of it.
What it was Tommy
And
Pham was playing fantasy football with like Mike Trout and that gang of people a few years ago when he
When he
slapped
punched someone, yeah.
he slapped who I can't it was but was it
what
Bellinger?
what
Who was
happened?
Something
it?
like that. Tommy Pham had a
Tommy
steep
Pham.
argument with
Oh
a
right,
player
yeah.
in his football league, and
Yeah.
money was involved, so he got heated.
Obviously, yeah. So in that regard, it's like you know they're playing fantasy football, but I mean the lines are blurred here. I mean you're playing with money and betting on sports. Essentially, that's what fantasy football, that's what fantasy baseball is. So it is really frustrating because you know going back to this statement by Rob Manfred to say there's not a person who's alive now. He's not alive anymore to threaten the integrity of baseball. What integrity does baseball have currently? What
Mhm.
lasting integrity are we perpetuating or propagating? Is there an integrity that you guys are seeing within the game today that has been persistent throughout all of history? I mean, I don't understand what he's really alluding to here because we have gambling rife in the sport. We have the Astros stealing the World Series in 2017. We have a
And not getting punished for
anti-competition
it.
and
Yeah.
not getting punished. The Astros were basically scot free. They still get to keep
Mhm.
that World Series, and we have this anti-competitive nature where all these markets are refusing to spend money because it's more profitable to not compete. So what fucking integrity are we talking about here? It's so frustrating to read a statement like that because it's sort of just like this we have to it's such this old school statement that you feel like you're doing due diligence to the game and what it represents as America's pastime, but it's absolute bullshit in my opinion. I don't think it makes any sense whatsoever. The integrity was broken. It's been broken.
Yeah, it's been gone for a long time. I don't know what he's talking about.
Well,
It's
money speaks. If his integrity is the meaning of keeping owners happy and not forcing them to spend money or not putting a cap, then like he's doing his job. That's to him.
yeah.
He's upholding exactly what every bigwig in the MLB wants, and that is
Yeah.
to be a profitable business, not to be entertainment, not to be
Mm-hmm.
anything for a city. It's to bring in money. That's what it is. And
Yeah.
like if you're a football fan or a basketball fan where some of these rules don't quite apply to you in your sport that you watch, and you're on the outside looking in, it's a shit show. And it is. If you're a baseball fan, it's a shit show too. It's just I don't know. It's exhausting. And nothing's gonna get done with Manfred. And probably the person who, is his successor. Eh, I don't see it
I know.
unless unless they start losing money. That is the only way
Mhm.
things
They're
will
not going to
change.
start losing money. No chance.
Mhm.
This is this is this is again, this they're all kind of working together. You know, we're not ignorant. We know this is a business. We know baseball is a business more than it is a sport. You know, we're talking about people trying to make money. These are people's livelihoods. It's cable contracts. We understand that it's a business, but I really don't like pretending that there's some sort of integrity here that Pete Rose was threatening in his dying breath. So that's what frustrated me about it. My good friend Mike Sauce, huge Reds fan, huge Cincinnati fan, big Bengals guy, he made a video today and he had a kind of a nuanced take about this Pete Rose situation where Pete Rose built the prison around himself. He it was his fault. He lied twice, I think. And he made the first sports gambling bet in Ohio in 2022, 2021.
Mhm.
So, in a sense, yes, it's Pete Rose's fault, and I totally agree. I don't think I was ever really rooting for him on a single day to be like, oh, he should be in the hall. You know, I've heard that argument enough times to to more times to count. So I think yes, he broke the rules and he made his bed, but I don't like how the league has done this. And tonight on the episode this is being recorded, this is May 14th, the Reds are doing Pete Rose night. So it all just
Yeah.
feels like so like
It's that's
manufactured and like just it's like it feels like everybody was in on this like grandiose gesture and it's a spectacle and it doesn't really mean anything. I don't know. It just I feel dirty and I feel like everything is just sort of like a little bit of a lie or I don't know. It just feels
yeah.
all manufactured and fake to me.
That is the weird thing that I was thinking about too, is that the Reds never stopped caring about Pete Rose. The Reds as an organization never didn't celebrate him as a player and his accomplishments. It was
Yeah.
the MLB that was the one, you know, not doing
They
that.
phased him out a long time ago.
Yeah. So I think Mitch, to maybe try to put a cap on this,
Mhm.
is exactly what you said in that what is being said by the MLB and what they're practicing does not align whatsoever.
No.
There is a lack of integrity, and for them to act like they're upholding that is a bold faced lie,
Yeah.
and it's something that everyone can see through as well. So
Mhm.
no one's being fooled by this. Everyone's just kind of like smiling and nodding and playing along,
Mhm.
but fans know what's up. And unless
Mhm.
you are in New York or um, in
LA.
LA, you are you're pissed and you're not
Mhm.
having a good time
Mhm.
unless you get lucky.
Yeah.
So in
Just
a way, it's a lot like gambling.
the rollout was just all sort of pomp and circumstance. It was, ugh, I don't know. That's all I'll say about that. But I guess great for Pete Rose. He's dead, so he doesn't get to see this day.
Mhm.
Um, I don't know what else to say about it. He does deserve to be honored. The league has kind of made this sort of a joke, though, I think.
Yep. Well put.
But anyway, I think we'll segue into Drew. Drew is going to be talking to me and John, and we'll bring him in right now. Welcome to the cast, Drew Donkin, consummate Guardians fan, baseball connoisseur. Welcome to High Sox, man. How you doing?
I'm good. No complaints. Happy to be here. Big Guardians fan, but also lived in Cincinnati for 18 years of my life. So I will not discount the Reds at all outside of what is now a 6-game series this year compared to what was in the past a 4-game series. And we actually have a weekend series coming up. So excited to talk some Guardians and Reds baseball for you today.
You feel good about the Reds even after, what you've seen the past maybe week, 2 weeks?
You mean the last 2 days where they've lost to the White Sox?
Yeah.
Well,
Well, as of recording right
recorded.
now, they are currently losing the second game of the series. I think it's like 4-1 last time I checked.
Yeah.
On Pete
Maybe it's
Rose's
already
special day.
yeah. Of all
Yeah.
days to lose to one of the worst teams in baseball twice
It was a sold-out
in pretty
crowd.
pathetic fashion. Oh, was it
Yeah.
really?
Yeah,
We
it
were
was
talking
packed.
about that.
It was a really lively
Man.
atmosphere. Barry Larkin, I think, said it was a little bit more exciting than opening day. It had that energy in the
Wow.
stadium.
Yeah, good for
And
Cincinnati.
I mean,
Well,
I
4-2
got
final here. Looks like, oh no, top of the ninth, 4-2. White Sox
Hey.
winning it. So I guess it's not over yet. Maybe they'll pull one
Nah,
out
I've got
for
the
old
official. It
Pete.
just ended.
Oh, it did? Okay. Well,
Yeah.
never mind.
I'm sorry.
Well,
We were dead in the water.
we recorded this
Fun.
earlier when before the game started, and we were like, oh yeah, they lost 1 game to the White Sox. Hopefully they win the second game. So we're kind of going out of order here. They lost 2 games to the White Sox. Don't look very good. Don't really have a set closer. Not hitting anything at all. How are the Guardians doing? We don't know much about them.
I mean, nobody does. You kind of just look past them. If you are a Twins fan and you follow Reddit, it's kind of funny because they have it's actually he's on Twitter, but we bring him into Reddit. But he's a huge hater. He calls us the slap sticking shit goblins because we'll win games and he gets furious, but we'll win games 4-3, and we'll have 4 runs on 5 hits. And it's like, how are you guys winning? And the pitching does well. And then we'll give up like 9 hits, but we'll only give up 3 runs. So currently in second place, but we play in the best division in baseball as of right now with the Tigers at the top, Guardians in second, Royals, and then the Twins, who, I mean, we were all on 4, 5, 6-game winning streaks. The Twins are kind of on fire right now. And then, the Tigers are a team to beat this year. They've got a very well hitting team. Their pitching, if Casey Mize can be who he was at Auburn, they've got a nice 3-4 starter combo. And then there's also Javi Baez seems to be back.
I was gonna say, yeah.
Walk off last night. They were in extra innings tonight again against Boston. So, but yeah, a little scared of the Tigers. But it's a long season. I will say whoever wins the division matchups will take the division as a whole. Because we all struggle against the Yankees and the Red Sox and the East. But wherever that intra-central division comes in, and we've been known to beat the Royals and the Twins in the past. I don't know if you looked at it, but in the last 3 years, we've walked off the Twins, I think 9, 10, 11 times.
Oh my God.
Yeah. There's a clip a few years ago. There's an inside joke with our fans, so it's kind of funny because it was 2 years ago. It was an afternoon Thursday game, and Andre Jimenez came up to the plate and hit a walk-off home run. And the former announcer for the Twins just saw the home run, and his tagline was, "And I think we've had enough of the Cleveland Guardians." And then the broadcast so that's great.
Wow.
So I'm excited for the season. We're halfway there. Cavs just got eliminated, so that's a disappointment. So we're on to full-out baseball. And especially this weekend. You know, you guys share something with us that we used to have, and now he's the manager with you guys.
That's
So
right. Yeah. Before
Yeah.
we right before we get into talking Terry, I from a fan perspective, because this is what High Sox is all about. It's about fan experience. It's about low IQ High Sox. Um, you seem like you have, maybe not a low IQ take. You know what you're talking about, but from just the collective fan experience, what is the current outlook on the Guardians team this year? What's maybe like a storyline that you guys are watching, or a player that you're kind of looking throughout the season to provide maybe a lot of hits, or a pitcher? What's the lowdown?
it's kind of wild because there's so much uncertainty. Like we have a owner that is known for not spending money, and a few years ago we were like, all right, this is silly. Like spend some money, get out there. But then when you actually see the product on the field and they win ball games, and we have a leader that's signed so cheap to stay in Cleveland because he loves it. And Jose Ramirez has been an absolute godsend. Build the statue
Dude.
now.
Honestly, he is, like, in my eyes, the most underrated superstar in baseball.
Oh yeah,
I love him so much. He's
and
such a
he
great
he
player.
hustles. Like he
Yeah,
sets the
man.
tone. I remember in 2016 when we went to the World Series, my friend from Cincinnati actually texted me and he was like, "Who the hell is Jose Ramirez?" And 10 years later, it's like, okay, you found out back then who he was. But the outlook, we have dominant pitching. We cannot go long. So I mean, our ace is like Tanner Bybee, who people probably don't know who he is. Ben Lively, I think he's
Mm,
a former Red product
he
for
I've
1
heard
is,
year.
that.
yeah.
Heard that name before. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then Gavin Williams, who's like 6'6", but he's coming back from injury last year. But
Mm,
if those dudes can pitch 5 1/3, 5 2/3 innings, and then you get to the pen and you got to face Cade Smith, and Cade Smith is like a 6'6". I believe he might be lefty. I'm not sure. Unfortunately for me, I'm blacked out in my area of watching Guardians games, but I do have the radio. And if anybody listens to Tom Hamilton on the radio, you know how good he is. So it's kind of like painting a picture. Clase's back. At least he's got 5 saves in his last 5 chances. He struggled, but everyone's gonna struggle. Look at Devin Williams in New
yeah.
York. Got the big contract.
That's a crazy
Right.
storyline with Devin
Yeah.
Williams, man.
Yeah. So but then we have hitters on the team. The lineup goes, Stephen Kwan needs to get extended immediately. That guy, he comes into the league, it's his I think third or fourth year, and he has 2 or 3 gold gloves. Like you don't have that. And he's hitting 325, as a
Mm,
leadoff hitter. And then it kind of just goes down a list of like, who the heck are these guys? When you see like Cincinnati, and I watch Reds games as well, like, and not as prolifically as I once did because I'm out of the area, but like TJ Friedel, I don't know much about him, but I know where he's good. You guys have your Ellie De La Cruz. We have our Jose Ramirez. Spencer was very good last year, Spencer Steer, and he's kind of fallen off, hitting like in the low to Mendoza line.
Yep.
But then like
yeah.
Daniel Schneeman for the Guardians, who's our second baseman. And then we brought back Carlos Santana for
That's
the
crazy.
third time. Dude's 41 years old. Funny story about Carlos Santana. I can take it way back. So we got him when he was 18. We traded Casey Blake, who was a legend in Cleveland, just a straight utility man, for a player to be named later to the Dodgers. And the Dodgers ended up going to the playoffs that year. They traded us an 18-year-old Carlos Santana. Santana took over for Victor Martinez when Martinez signed with Boston. And then Santana then left, went to Philly, got a contract, was not liked in Philly because he was like he was a leader in the clubhouse, but they didn't like him there. So then they traded him back to us. Spent a few years here, and then we got rid of him for Edwin Encarnacion. And then, he spent some time in Pittsburgh and in Minnesota, and then he came back to us once we traded Josh Naylor. But he's a fan favorite, plays incredible defense. Hitting 220 right now, but he's always had a slow start. And then as you just go down the line, Big Christmas, Joneski Noel had that huge home run in Game
Yeah.
3 last year. That incredible Game 3 of the playoffs against the Yankees, where
Yeah.
the place just lit up when he hit a homer and David Fry. David Fry is an interesting guy. He's an ultimate utility player. He's injured. He'll be back later this year. And then Bo Naylor, good catcher, incredible at framing, has some power. Not the best defensive catcher, but much better than Gary Sanchez. If you want to watch bad catching, watch Gary Sanchez, who is still in the league, which surprises me. He's catching
didn't even
somewhere. I
know
don't know where he's at.
Yeah, I gotta find out where that is.
Well,
And then you flip it around. But yeah, that's where we at. I mean, in terms of what we see, like it's just so unpredictable because you don't know who these guys are, but they want to be there. Jose Ramirez is a leader.
Mhm.
If you watch Jose, he runs and his helmet falls off, and he'll stretch singles into doubles. And especially if you watch postseason, like it's wild. If he puts the ball on the ground and he has a chance to move, good luck.
wow.
Yeah.
Well, the only postseason games I've ever seen in my life in person were those Yankees Guards games. I think it was 2 years in a row I went to some of those games. I went to like a game 5 when the Guardians lost to the Yankees in
Mhm.
22, I believe it was, maybe.
Okay,
And then I
always
went
tough.
to like a game 2 where the Guardians won. And as an Ohio boy, I'm cheering for my Guards, not
Absolutely.
my in that sense they are my Guards. I hate the Yankees. But
Yeah.
it's interesting we were talking about it a little bit earlier how this team just continuously shows up to the playoffs. They
Yeah.
make that push. They're always competitive. And now they're without Terry, but you're still seeing some of those like same behaviors and those same Guardians mentality kind of shining through, and that they're
Mhm.
a fighting team, and it's interesting to see because they are on a low budget, and you compare them to the Reds, who we always say spend the money, take those risks. What is the secret formula for the Guardians that we're not seeing? Because I think that we want to encourage teams in baseball to spend that money to take those risks. I think it's good for the game because, it's you want fans to be invested, you want your ownership group to be invested. What's working for the Guards? What's that secret ingredient that's been consistent for like what, over 10 years now?
Yeah, I mean, since we went to the World Series, again, it goes back to what this Twins fan says is a slapstick shit hitting goblins. Like they just hit the ball, and from there they get on base and they hustle. They have a leader in Jose Ramirez. Stephen Vogt is a very
Mm,
good coach because he's like 40, 41.
young.
So he's just out of the league, and he's a catcher. And catchers always make the best managers, so they say, because they
Mhm.
they control the game.
They manage the game.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah,
As a catchers, they already managed the game. Yeah.
yeah, and I like the other thing is if you go back to last year, they talk about how we built this wind tunnel in right field because we opened up the trellises, or what is in our right field. Say what you want, I don't care. I did look up the stats. Yes, we hit more home runs, but still, we're not a home run hitting team. For us, it's the pitching that keeps us in ball games, and we do enough on the base paths. We steal bases, and for us, it's just getting on base. And I think for the Reds, it kind of has to be that same way. Like you're not going to have a guy who hits 40 home runs, but De La Cruz can do it all. He can hit 30, steal 100 bags, and get 50 doubles and 25 triples. Like, I mean, that dude,
Mhm.
as long as he becomes the leader that he needs to be, I think the
Mhm.
Reds will be okay. But you guys don't have a bullpen that is consistent.
Yeah.
Like, another thing, like what the Guardians like to do is like we signed John Means to a 2-year contract. Now John Means is a former pitcher for the Orioles, grew up a Guardians fan, if that means anything. But he's out for the entire year rehabbing on Tommy John. So we took a chance on him, so we don't have to pay him anything. Did the same thing last year with Jack Flaherty and Alex Cobb. So those are the kind of the back end of the pieces that pull in, and we did that. I mean, we've known to do that for a while. Like like 2007 where we signed Kevin Millwood, and he was like 19-5 the year that he was with us. And you guys did that too. There was a pitcher that was there for like 1 year with the Reds, and he was like 20-5. But then you guys also did it with, I think, Eric Milton, and he was like 4-16. So
Mixed
it's
bag.
luck at times.
Remember when we brought in Matt Harvey for like a year?
Matt
Maybe
Harvey?
I don't think it was a whole year, but he pitched pretty well for us, and then he found a different contract afterwards.
Yeah, and Matt Latos when
Matt
Latos came
Latos.
in.
Yeah,
He's in that case. You guys had Bauer for a
he's
year.
crazy. Both crazy guys. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So I mean, I
Bauer
don't
was
know if
hot for
there's
us.
a specific, formula to it, but Cleveland's just a gritty town. That's how we have to win. And when your leader is Jose Ramirez and Steven Kwan backs him up, or it should be Kwan first in the lineup. But those two are the guys that kind of just run with it. Now we just signed Corey Kluber to be a bench guy.
I saw
Um,
that. That was yesterday, right? Or earlier today or
Yes.
something.
He's not pitching, but he's on the bench talking and letting them know. And he's a cool, calm, and collective guy.
He's a legend.
Thank you.
I wonder
John-
how much that you mentioned just like having a guy like Jose on
Yeah.
the team as that leader. I do think about that a lot. I think about like
Mm.
the mentality of the players and the team as a whole. I mean, it sounds like you put a lot of stock in having that guy at the top, and that was Votto for the Reds for so
Yeah.
long. And without him, it's been a bit of a black hole on the team. And
Mm.
I mean, who is the guy on the team who's been who's been a player for the longest at this point actively? Lux? I don't know.
I feel like well, I think I knew it for the most like tenured Red was like someone surprising. It was like
Oh yeah.
I think it was like I think it was Hunter Green or someone like who was it? I think it was Jonathan India before he left.
Mm.
Red.
Did it.
Yeah.
It's just been a large turnover. But you mean as far as like veteran presence
A
player?
veteran presence. I mean, yeah, I would love someone who's been, with the team for a decade as well, but just like the kind of guy to point people in the right direction, show what like hustling means. I think for like a lot of younger players, they need to see that like this winning mentality doesn't come from winning games. It comes from trying to win games. It comes from trying to beat
Yeah.
out every single play. And I don't know. I get a bit of a defeatist attitude from the Reds when they are skidding. Um, it seems like once couple runs go by, it's over. And
Yeah, the
we
lineup
don't
is
we don't put up
terrible.
much of a fight. That's the kind of mentality that I'm getting.
We're
The-
dying
with-
over here.
Yeah, but the division isn't that strong. Like, yes, the Cubs are off to a kind
Yes.
of a hot start, but
Slowing
the
down a little
Cardinals,
bit, but yeah.
the Cardinals are not what they once were since Yadier left. So there's
they're-
another guy.
Yeah, they're
the
9-1,
Cardinals-
9-1 in their last 10.
Yeah, they just
Mhm.
lost today. But in terms of like Yadier, like he ran that house. And then, the
Mhm.
Brewers are who they are. You can't count them out. And then, your guys' White Sox or your guys' White Sox is the Pirates,
Oh yeah.
which
Oh,
I love. I love the Pirates, dude. Like that stadium
I-
is so nice.
I mean, outside of the stadium, we've been talking about how they're one of the most profitable teams in the league right now. That came out a couple days ago, and
Saw that.
regardless of their form, yeah, the stadium is beautiful. They got Skeens who certainly will be turned over in a few years and sold for a bunch of money or a few prospects or who knows what. But yeah, I mean they're kind of a scrappy organization as well. They never really get to the benchmark.
Let's
Next level.
let's not kid ourselves. Some years there's very little that separates Cincinnati from Pittsburgh.
It's true.
It's I mean we
It's
saw
on the river.
we've talked about 2022 I think where each team lost 100 games.
Yeah.
Finished the season with the same record. And we were both equally shit. So I can't say that like, oh yeah, Pittsburgh is just a terrible franchise and they don't do enough for their team when that is exactly what we see in Cincinnati. Maybe not every year, but I
Mm.
mean, definitely for the past, 15 years, we've seen a lot of that.
Mm-hmm.
Let
Yeah.
me ask you guys this then. I will say I do love O'Neal Cruz. Love that kid. Oh, he reminds me of
Mhm.
Ellie. But I had this
Yeah.
kind of chat a few weeks ago, and I was talking about Paul Skeens being a true ace in Major League Baseball. Okay, and I said he's a top 10 pitcher, true ace. Like there aren't many true aces in the league. Who would you put in line with Paul Skeens? I know he's only been doing it for 18 months now, but he is extremely dominant. The guys that kind of fall into that true ace category, I would say like Paul Skeens, the kid from Seattle, not Castillo, but his counterpart, Gilbert. Is it Lucas
Oh,
Gilbert?
Yeah.
Logan Gilbert. Yeah.
Logan Gilbert. And then like there aren't like Jacob DeGrom is one where you know this guy's going out. Aaron Nola is kind of like up and down right now.
Yeah.
Like Zach Wheeler is still there, but that's why I think Skeens is a top 10 pitcher that we see.
Oh,
right now.
easily. Yeah. Yeah.
Sure.
I was
I
gonna
mean,
throw Logan Webb out there maybe.
Logan Webb, yeah,
And then
absolutely. Because Logan's been consistent.
consistent for years,
Mhm.
and we're seeing kind of flashes of that from Hunter Green. He still has a little ways to go.
Yeah.
And he's injured now, of course, but I think he's kind of a later developer. Like you don't usually get a guy like Paul Skeens who comes in the league and is immediately dominant and immediately an ace. But I think Hunter Green is on that track. It's a little bit slower, but we were seeing flashes of that earlier this year. Hopefully, he comes back off the IL and he can produce like he did before. But Logan
Yeah.
Webb is an amazing pitcher, and I think that Paul Skeens is what he's doing in Pittsburgh is just I don't even know what to say. It's
Oh,
incredible.
absolutely.
It's
But
incredible.
like Alan Cantor fell off, since he had Tommy John surgery.
Yeah, and he went to the
He's-
Yankees and he shit the bed over there, right? Or not the
No,
Yankees,
he's still in Miami, but he's
Miami.
getting
Yeah,
shelled. Yeah, I mean he's not pitching well. He's pitching 4 or 5 innings, but they're gonna
that's what I'm
offload
talking
him at
about.
the trade deadline anyway.
Yeah.
It's a typical Miami move. You guys ever been to the Marlins Stadium?
No, I had a chance to go for that Red series. My friend lives down there, so actually,
You know what
you
it's
know
like?
him. You know Tyler Peggenstecker, right?
Yeah, I know Ty.
Oh,
He's
yeah.
He lives in
all
Miami.
good.
I was like, maybe I should go see for the Red series, but I never got down there.
So it's wild. So I went to the Marlins game a few years ago in August, and it's in Little Miami. So I parked at somebody's house. They didn't speak English, but they were like $20 parking. I was like, all right, cool. I mean, it's the cheapest I'm gonna get. It's 2 blocks away from the stadium. And walking in the Miami Marlins Stadium and watching a game is like walking into Costco and a baseball game happens. It's just a large it's just a large facility. It's temperature controlled, and it was so, like, boring. I was like, "This is terrible."
Mm.
And there was nothing that like, there was no fan experience. Like, they had a cool bobblehead feature on the first base side, but you go to Detroit and Comerica Park, top
Yeah.
the upper deck, they have a carousel. You know, like, Cincinnati has the smokestacks.
Mhm.
San Francisco has the trolley car. Boston is Boston. So, in Chicago, the Cubs are the Cubs. But Miami was nothing special.
Yeah, I can't imagine putting that on my list. I mean, it's got to be up there for one of the worst experiences I imagine. Just for the sake
Or
of just for the sake of the culture surrounding the team. It's just, regardless if they're good or not, it's like I don't think it's a really big baseball town. I don't think people really rally around the Marlins.
Nah. Well,
So
it does blow up during the World Baseball Classic. That's when it sells out.
that's where it's fun when they
Yeah.
Dominicans and Puerto Ricans, Cubans, all that can come
Yeah,
through.
like they sell that place out. I went there, and when I went to the game, I saw the Astros, and they were in love with Jose Altuve, which makes sense. Jose's a good
Yeah,
player,
of course, man. I mean,
and
we
the
can't
Marlins
beat Red
actually won
Bush.
it.
He's an amazing player. He's going to be a Hall of Famer probably. Well, yeah,
He's got to be. As much as I give him hell, I mean, the only reason why I give him hell is because he's an Astro, and you
Mhm.
hate the cheating scandal. But in terms of like, the guy is so good, and he's so little. He's so tiny.
Yeah.
But I think he's terrible right now playing left field. He is not a left fielder, but he's getting old.
I haven't watched any of the games when he's in left field.
Bad.
I haven't really been paying attention to the Astros, honestly. How are they doing?
I don't know. I think they're in third. They're in.
I was gonna say,
Is
I think they're middling right now. I
Yeah,
don't think
because
they're not a pushover, but they're not dominating or anything
yeah,
like that.
Texas is back at the top. Seattle's
Mhm.
up in like second, and then it's Houston. But you can't count Houston out. I mean, they lost
We
Bregman and Kyle Tucker, but
I
still,
was gonna say,
they
yeah,
tried to count him
so
out
many
last year.
pieces.
yep.
Yeah.
And they won the division.
Yeah.
Mm.
What they do.
But
Yeah.
anyway, getting back to the Reds and Guardians, I did want to bring up, Tito, which we kind of alluded to a little bit earlier, and
Yeah.
I wanted to talk about, like, in general, what your thoughts are about him as a manager, what it was like having him as, coaching in the World Series, what the fan perspective is with him in Cleveland, how you're
Mhm.
feeling about him in Cincinnati, and how do you think he's going to handle this kind of failing Reds team?
Tito was awesome, and he's always been a great manager. He grew up. His dad played Major League Ball, and then his dad might have played for the Indians, and then Tito came up, and I think he played 1 or 2 years with us. And then he spent his years in Boston, won a World Series, and then was kind of booted there because the dudes were drinking in the bullpen. So that kind of gave you like the. Did you not know about that?
No.
Wow.
What?
It was like they had their big 3 or 4. It was like John, it might have been John Lester, and then there was those 2 other pitchers that they won the World Series with. But yeah, look it up. And if it's not true, then cut it from the segment. But I'm almost positive that's what happened. But he won his World Series, took some time off, and that's why he was fired. Then he came to Cleveland, and it was huge because we had struggled with like Manny Acta, who was a manager, Eric Wedge, like people that you don't even know
Yeah,
like
but
how they got a
yeah.
job. But then Tito came along and just changed the culture incredibly. And not only the culture on the team, but the culture of the city. And hopefully you guys will see this soon. But John, especially for you, because you're in Cincinnati, but Tito is a big fan of his scooter. And he's got a motorized scooter, and he used to ride it to the Guardians game. And
I've
one
seen
day
those
it got
photos.
stolen. Yeah,
Oh,
one day it got stolen, and he actually did get it back. But wild. Absolutely, but look out for that. So again, he's relatable. He's an older guy. He relies on his veterans, which can get him into trouble at times. So he's not always going to play the young kids coming up. But in your guys' case, you don't really
mm,
have any veterans,
That's what I
so
was
he's got to
thinking.
stick to
Yeah.
his guns. Cruz is there, and then Marte. Um, but the guys like Friedel and Spencer, playing the outfield, those are the guys he's gonna have to stick to. But anybody that's coming up through your system, you're not gonna see it year 1, but maybe year 2, 3, 4 down the line.
mhm.
He may not go to them. I would say he's similar for you guys, similar to what Dusty brought in. Kind of that old
Mm,
mentor mindset.
yeah.
But always fun. He's a clubhouse guy. He's not going to get too hot. I think he was kind of forced out of Cleveland. Like we were ready. He was with us for I think 12, 14 years, and they blamed it on health and stuff, which he was a little sick. But then he took the year off. But I think it was a kind of a mutual decision. I was shocked, and I think Ben even said like Tito's coming to Cincinnati, and I was like, all right, and it
Wow.
happened. So I
Wow.
wish he was on here because he could have proved it.
Yeah. It's funny that
Wow.
you mentioned that he's a guy who's going to rely too heavily on his veterans because like the only veterans I can think of are veterans to the game and not necessarily Reds is like Candelario who is
Yeah.
being like who's been basically benched. I haven't really seen much of him in the
Mm,
past
yeah.
couple series, and Alexis Diaz who got DFA'd, and those were the decisions I was like, is he going to make them? Because these guys are
Mhm.
struggling, and these guys are just like a blight on the team. and he's made them so far. But in terms of like seeing that culture shift, how long did that take to really set in for Cleveland?
I mean, once Jose came in, like for us, the culture shift happened when Jose came up, Lindor came up, Jason Kipnis was there. Like we had this core set of um, young guys that came up through our minor league system. And then, because that's the only way we can build, like we're not trading for anybody. When we do trade, we're ripping people off, especially the Padres. Like we're trading Mike Clevenger for Josh Naylor and some other dudes. And then we traded a nobody for Corey Kluber. But then we make a mistake and trade a nobody for Yandy Diaz to Tampa Bay, and they ripped us off. So
Tampa Bay rips everybody off.
yeah, they kind of have to because they're that small market team. You know, that's
Yeah.
if they're going to do it, that's how you have to do it. But yeah, right around the 2014-16 era, you know, when we had Encarnacion and then we just kind of built it, and then we stayed on that plateau of success. And I'm hoping that the Reds can do it. They need a bullpen, and it helps. Like our his right hand man in Cleveland was Carl, our pitching coach, Carl. I'm going to call him Carl Weathers, but he's an actor. I forgot his name right off my hand. Carl Willis. But no, in Cincinnati, Tito brought in Mike Napoli, and I think he's your first base coach.
Yeah.
I think Napoli, and we had that
Or
big
is
party.
is he a bench guy? Bench coach?
I think he was. Let me look up.
No,
Mike
we have
Napoli.
we have a first base coach already.
Let's see what he's doing. Mike Napoli is a staff assistant for the Reds.
Yeah.
But while you guys were talking about that, though, I did look this up, and it says right here, Boston Red Sox manager Terry Francona was indeed fired in 2011, partly due to allegations of players drinking beer in the dugout during games, specifically on nights when they weren't pitching. These allegations involve pitchers such as Josh Beckett, John Lester, and John Lackey. So that was their collapse. They were up like 12 games in the last month of the season, and they blew it.
Wow.
That's just good old fashioned baseball, baby. Have a few
That's-
beers in the bullpen. Come on.
Yeah.
And also just thinking
Smoke a
about
few
what, like,
cigarettes.
thinking about what John Lester looks like, that just makes sense. I can just imagine that so easily.
Absolutely. So but the other thing with Tito, he's always got that big dip in his big chaw in his mouth.
Oh yeah.
Argues
Oh,
Does he
yeah.
still have that? I haven't noticed that.
He's always got fat cheeks.
Yeah.
They've made a lot of mention about his health and how he's
Maybe he's
trying
had to stop
to. It seems like he's very cognizant of his health, especially like his heart health too. So I don't know if he's made any adjustments in that regard, but
Hmm.
I've heard John Zadak and Barry talk about his health during a game. So no, I don't know, something to keep in mind. Almost to the point where they were wondering, is he gonna finish a season with the Reds?
Yeah.
I think it was just like a poor wording on their part, but
Mm.
I don't know. Maybe he stopped the dip. Um, I don't know. You're filling me with some positivity.
Oh,
That's what I needed to hear. I mean, I think it's like going to take longer than we want it to, but if it takes 2 years and then we start to see some success, then so be it. But
Yeah.
I don't have to wait 2 years to think about part one of the battle for the Ohio Cup
this is where we're at this weekend.
coming up soon. Yeah. Is this I forget, is this in Cincinnati or is this in Cleveland for this first
In
set?
It's
here?
in Cleveland. Oh, I was wrong
it's in
earlier when I said
Cincinnati.
that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Almost it's got to be because you guys are at home right now, and we're at home. We had a day game today. Which
Yeah,
doesn't
it's
really-
Guardians at Reds.
Yep.
Okay.
I thought it was in Cleveland. Yeah, that's coming up, and Drew, I just realized on one of the last podcast we did, last show we did, it was there's an actual Ohio Cup. There's an actual trophy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, man.
I didn't know that.
I
Yeah.
can't believe you didn't
Yeah,
know
they
that.
I looked at it. I was
lost
like,
it.
that's a nice looking trophy.
Do you guys know who leads the all-time series?
The
We
Guardians.
talked about it then. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the Guardians.
Which, given the lack of success for this team, I'm not that surprised by it.
Yeah.
But that 7-run comeback, that was kind of recent history. Was it 7 runs, 8 runs, 9 runs? What
Yeah, I
was it?
remember that. It was like 7th, 8th inning, and
That
they
was
came back. It was in Cleveland.
crazy.
Yeah.
Jamie, pull that up.
good clip right there that you just swiped in. That was good.
Yeah.
What do you think about the Ohio Cup though? The battle for the Ohio Cup. I mean, it's such like a because I don't think many people see Cleveland as a rival in Cincinnati
No.
and vice versa. It's like a forced rivalry. It's like it's like in little league sports. Like these are our rivals. Like I don't remember who these guys are. I don't hate them at all.
I
They're just
liked it
another team in
better.
Ohio.
I liked it better when there was the DH because it made it interesting because we had to come down to Cincinnati and have our pitchers hit.
Play with a pitcher.
Mm,
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, but now that that's gone and defunct, I've always enjoyed it. But I mean, I'm from Cleveland. And I spent my time in Cincinnati. I mean, to tell you the truth, I spent 18 years in Cleveland and I spent 18 years in Cincinnati. So do I want to take my childhood or do I want to take my college plus adulthood years? They both mean the same to me. But I'm always going to lean towards Cleveland. I love the Ohio Cup because it kind of gives you that trash talk that means nothing. And, the Bengals have been good and the Browns have been the Browns.
yeah.
Um,
I mean, that's
so
the thing too. Is like I don't. What I feel for the Browns is a mix of disdain and pity, and I just
absolutely.
don't. That's not what I have for the Guardians at all.
No, because I used to hate the Bengals when it was Carson Palmer, Chad Johnson years, but nowadays with Joe Burrow, it's like I can't hate the guy. But the Ohio Cup, interesting. I think it's cool. Major League Baseball finally figured it out this year, and put it on a weekend. Like, why would you do a Monday, Tuesday series,
Yeah.
Cincinnati and Cleveland? Like the
I
whole
always
state,
hated the 2 games too. I hated those 2 games.
why? But
Mhm.
outside of that, it's cool. It's bragging rights. There's a lot of people that, in Columbus here, it's split. And Cincinnati actually just got the TV rights for Columbus, so there'll be more. The kids growing up may be back to Reds fans because the
Wow, I didn't
Guardians
know that.
didn't get. Yeah, the Guardians didn't get the TV rights here, so. But who knows? Everything's like streaming nowadays, and however people are watching it, no one really is. Kids these days aren't watching it the same way that we did 10, 15 years ago.
True.
Yeah,
Hey, Rob Manfred, end the blackouts, dumbass.
I know.
Absolutely. That's exactly what we need to do.
I I love that clip of that guy shouting at him when he's sitting in the seats at the stadium. He leans over.
In
He's
the
like,
press box?
yeah, he's like, hey,
Yeah.
Rob, end the blackouts, dumbass.
Isn't that in like the World Series?
Yeah, it's like the playoffs world. I don't know what it was, playoffs World Series.
Dude, so
But,
in Columbus, it makes no sense. I'm blacked out of the Guardians, the Reds, and can you name my third team I'm blacked out of?
Oh,
baseball
it's got to
team?
be the Pirates.
It is the Pirates.
Yeah, Pirates.
Really?
Yeah, it
That's
makes no
fucking
sense.
stupid, bro. That's so
That's
dumb.
weird.
And so that's where we
Well,
stand.
yeah. Okay. Well, we'll see what happens when the weekend comes. Obviously the Reds are on the back foot. Losing against one of the worst teams in baseball.
Twice.
I guess what would be worse would be losing against the Rockies. Which
They
would
got
be-
that Pope. They got that Pope magic there in Chicago.
That's true. Yeah, dude.
shout out American Pope, baby.
Seeing that picture of him at the in the World Series, in the stands for the White Sox
Yeah.
World Series,
The White Sox.
like, you know what, this guy might be all right. Okay, I can get behind him. Yeah, maybe something's in the air right now with the White Sox.
Could be.
Another team that I really never had much emotion for. In fact, I mean, the only thing I can really think about when I think about the White Sox is that I think they do pinstripes better than the Yankees. Sue me. I don't know.
Yeah.
It looks better on them. I don't understand. It's the
No,
tone
yeah.
of the black. I
Yeah.
don't know.
Well,
Yeah.
also fuck the Yankees.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
the Field of Dreams game they had against them. I think it was
Yeah.
like
That
the
was
first or second Field of Dreams game. That was
first.
just like that was a classic, man. That was
That was
so
It's a
classic.
walk
awesome.
off. Tim
Tim
Anderson
Tim
walk off.
Tim
Anderson walked off.
Anderson,
Yeah.
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 And then he met the
That's
fist of Jose Ramirez, and it's just been all downhill.
It completely
there's your
disappeared on the
connection.
face of the earth.
That was
That
Jose
actually made
Ramirez?
me
I actually
think
don't remember
different.
that.
That made me think differently about Tim Anderson after that point.
He came out about it, I think, like a month or two ago, because he's playing for the Angels now, and he's like, "Yeah, dude, I had a tough time." But I mean, props to him for still being in the league.
That's cool.
But
Yeah.
him and Jose don't get along. But if you ask Jose about it, Jose doesn't even want to talk about it. He's literally like, Jose doesn't speak very good English, which is kind of funny. So he's just, I don't want to talk about it, and that's it.
Wow. Wow, that's hilarious, man. That was a moment in time. That was crazy. You said you got some trivia for us or something?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I got some fun stuff for you here.
Let's hear it.
All right. I've got this up here. I'm gonna share my screen. My share screen work with you. All right, so on the left here, we've got a player and we have my comparison to him is on the right. One of these guys is a famous Reds player, and the other is not. They both
Okay.
started in 2011, and one played for 13 years, the other played for 10. So, who is this?
Okay, so one of them there's two different players. One is a Reds player. Can you say which one is the Reds player and which one is not the Reds player? Or am I supposed to guess which one's the Reds player and guess who it is?
Why don't you take a guess and I'll tell you if you're right or wrong.
Okay, well, I mean, obviously you're kind of splitting hairs here. They're very similar players. It looks like at a first glance. Famous Red. One of them is a famous Red. You
I
said.
would say he had a good run. He was a fan favorite, and then
Ooh,
he left.
Okay. That's a lot of games.
I think he played for the Reds for 6 years, and then he made his way out and went home to his hometown, and that's where he spent the next few years. And it's unfortunate that John can't help you out because he saw the.
Well, the Red. Okay, so the Red is on the left.
That is correct. This is the Reds player right here.
Mm-hmm.
And he had 2 All-Star appearances, and I'll give you just based. You can look at these stats, but these 2 All-Star appearances, one of them blew the city on fire of Cincinnati because of what he did that year at the All-Star game.
Mm-hmm. That's a good hint.
So 2015.
I mean, it's. Is it Todd Frazier?
It is Todd Frazier.
Let's go.
Good for you.
The phrase.
Now
before you gave me that hint, I had that in my head. I was like, it seems like it could be.
Now let's see how up to date you are as well. So the player on the right retired today. Did you check any news today?
I did not hear that.
A player on the right retired today.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
I did see this.
He won a championship.
Was it Evan Longoria?
Not Evan. But I can see that's a good comparison too. I can throw Evan. I bet you Evan's stats are very, very similar to this because he dropped off once he left Tampa Bay.
Oh, I just saw this. News.
The World Series that he won was an epic World Series, and Ben loves to talk about it because there was insane comeback.
Was it Crawford?
It's not Crawford. He's talking Carl Crawford.
No. Giants.
Giants Brandon Crawford.
Yeah.
No, it is not him. He's not a
Oh,
Giants.
wait,
never played for the Giants.
Forsyth?
Nope. He's a more common name than that. He is a rival. His biggest years was he played.
Yeah.
I wish I could hear. I wish I could pull up this. I can pull up the stats here in just a second because I actually looked this up.
I literally read this today, the other day, or today, or whatever.
He's known for playing for one team
Yep.
that we don't care for.
Oh, Matt Carpenter. It was
Yeah.
Matt Carpenter. Yeah. Yeah.
And I think about him in his short time in New York. And it's like,
Yeah.
that was actually kind of fun to watch.
with the mustache.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Is
I
is
honestly,
this saved up here where he was a red killer because he hit 274 with 23 homers and 79 RBIs?
That is crazy.
It might not have shared that.
Wow.
no, you're still
But,
on your original doc there.
Okay, so this is I'll pull that up real quick. This is his stats versus
Oh, there you go.
the Reds. So he hit 274, 145 hits, 23 homers, and 80 RBIs in 168 games. So yeah, he beat up the Reds.
It's fucking crazy, bro. Jesus
I
Christ.
saw that prior to coming on today. I was like, I gotta share that with High
Yeah,
Sox.
our YouTube subscribers are gonna skyrocket any day now. And hey, listen, people who like short form content, and
They want those stories.
yeah, they love it. Well,
'Cause then they'll go and look it up,
relatively,
and then
yeah,
they'll watch a baseball doesn't exist video, and that dude just kills it.
I love that guy.
yeah, man.
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
great. Thanks for the bananas video, by the way. That was sweet. Did you watch that, John?
Oh yeah,
I did
saw
watch
that.
it. I did watch all the
Okay.
way through
Yeah, that was
that.
cool.
I thought that was
Wild.
interesting. I still, I'm not. I can't be a hater of the Savannah Bananas. I just think they're fine. I don't think they're threatening baseball. It's fine.
Nah.
What is this?
the extra inning.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah. Oh, that's so
I mean-
goofy, man.
I mean-
holy shit.
And then there's like a sudden death situation in the extras, like the
That's it,
batter
yeah.
versus the pitcher, and then
one
And one
fielder.
fielder.
one
yeah.
fielder. Yeah. So
Whoever makes it the furthest.
I think the people who are mad about the Savannah Bananas are like thinking of this in the wrong context. It's not supposed to be baseball. It's supposed to be fun, engaging. It's a different sport. It's a different product, basically. You're not going to necessarily have a ton of crossover, but even if you do, I mean, it's good. It's just fun. It's clean fun, baby. I mean, what's to be mad about?
I think it's the attendance because they just sold out 81,000 at Clemson's
Which
football
is
stadium.
Crazy.
And then and then they got signed by ESPN. So like ESPN has just been going down. Like they cut baseball from their Sunday night, and then they signed the Bananas for entertainment purposes.
I guess
Like,
in that context it's annoying, but if you were ever looking for for ESPN to uphold any integrity, then you're probably looking in the wrong place.
Yeah,
They fired all their personalities a couple years ago too. So it's like ESPN is not the leader of sports as they like to call themselves. Yeah.
They just released a new thing, like some streaming thing for $30 a month. You get some special ESPN broadcasts.
I don't want to hear
No,
it.
that's how you watch all the Savannah Bananas games. Ad free.
Are you serious?
$30 a month. No,
I believe it if that's true.
I
Yeah.
wouldn't be surprised if they shoehorn that in there.
Ugh.
But, I mean, listen, if you're mad at them for being picked up by ESPN and making money their own way and just having a goofy time, then I don't know, get a new hobby, honestly.
I'll say this: if
Fun.
they can get my daughters into baseball, and then kind of get them like excited about it, and then maybe they don't grow up liking baseball, but playoff baseball is different. And if I can just get them to watch playoff baseball with me, that would be fun. My 6-year-old loves it.
Yeah, in a way, it can be a stepping stone. I think. I imagine the Savannah Bananas can be a stepping stone to people who want to watch baseball. And if you take your kid to your young kid to a baseball game or to Savannah Bananas, they can get hooked immediately, and their attention can just be locked in. Meanwhile, if you take your 3-4-year-old to a Major League Baseball game, they're going to be tuning out pretty quickly.
Yeah, we took him to a AAA Clippers game a few weeks ago, and we spent our time at the playground and meeting Bluey, which fine, that's cool. I got to go to the
Bluey was
game.
there. That's kind of a
Yeah,
famous
Bluey
name.
was- Yeah, that's why we went there. You guys have kids one day, you'll be like, you'll know. But
I got 2 cats.
yeah,
That's 2 kids.
yeah,
Yeah.
see, okay. But yeah, they didn't care for the game. Whatever, right?
Yeah.
Well, certainly people can go from the bananas to baseball, but it's not going to happen in reverse. So
No.
I don't know what people are afraid of. The only people who are killing Major League Baseball is the people within Major League Baseball, and
Oh yeah,
we talked about that a little bit before. So that's nothing new.
Mm.
It's like we need to put our blame on who the actual culprit is. Let's not
yeah,
act
Rob
like
Manfred.
yeah, let's not
Yes,
act like it's
Rob.
a bunch of guys dancing around. It's not them.
Yeah.
The call is coming from inside the house. Come on.
Do you remember years ago when Rob Manfred said that they don't want to win a piece of metal? And he's referring to the World
Oh,
Series trophy.
yeah.
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 But people hate on him, but he is so boring, and I swear he hates the game, but he has done some good things. The pitch clock is good. The
Yeah.
speed of the game
Excellent.
has brought fans in. Attendance is up. And
Yep.
then the Dodgers have billions of dollars.
Hi, Federica. Yes.
Oh, it's over.
Ciao.
All right. Well, yeah, I mean, the pitch clock is good, banning the shift is good, encouraging some hitting is good.
Yeah.
That's a continuity issue right there, but we'll get past that.
Keep putting it out only makes it worse.
Anyway, thanks, Drew, for coming on
Yeah.
and chatting with us and providing some insight about Terry, about the
Yeah, man.
about the Guardians and how they come to be a big force in the American League and a scrappy team.
Yeah, absolutely. Gritty. It was fun. I wish the best on the Reds. Like I said, Reds fan through and through. They do nothing to Cleveland besides the 6 games of the year, so I'm gonna pull for them. And now that you got Tito as well, and Ellie's always fun to watch. Hopefully he becomes the guy that you want. I know that you guys also talked about how much he should get paid. You guys should pay him now, so you don't have to pay him later.
Yep.
And then I don't know. Who's at the top of the fantasy baseball league? Is that you, Mitch? You 4 and 5?
Yeah, I'm struggling right now. I got a ton of injuries. I gotta figure out some things. I gotta drop some people. I gotta make some moves. So we'll see. I'm on the top now, or maybe second place, but this week is not looking great. So
well, good luck again.
Thank
With
you,
this
man.
league, it's not always about winning, but win the high points, get some money back.
Yeah. We'll see what happens, man.
Yep.
No, this was a blast. Anytime you guys need insight or just want to talk baseball, let me know. And if you give me a heads up, I can make it on.
I feel like this is going to be the first of many. So thanks, man. Thanks, Drew, for your insight, man. We really appreciate it. Guardians looking good this year. Tito, obviously a legend in the game. We're going to move on and talk about a little bit about the division, how it's shaping up, how our Reds are doing. John, you got something on this?
Yeah, I'm thinking back to what our conversation was last week. We typically kind of look at and see the competition ahead of us. And I remember seeing the White Sox on there and being like, "Oh, great. Easy couple wins right there. White Sox, one of the worst teams. Just right ahead of the Rockies. Some easy wins coming up for us. We have had one game with them so far and lost 5-1 in extras, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Can't many.
it's looking right now a little dire that we cannot compete against one of the worst teams in baseball right now, and that has led us to dropping from second to fourth in the NL Central right now. The Brewers are a game ahead of us, or they are a win ahead of us, and the Cardinals, um, starting off really poorly this year with
Mhm.
that really bad away game losing streak that they had. I think they won
Yeah.
like 2 out of 14 games or something like
Yeah.
that early on. They are now in second place, and now this is a tight division still. If you are not a Reds fan, you're looking at these teams and saying like there are 5 wins separating the Cubs from the Reds right now in fourth place. The Cubs started off super hot, scoring crazy amount of runs. It seems like every game, like 8 to 10 runs. They have slowed down a little bit, but during that time, the Reds have also slowed down, and teams like the Brewers and the Cardinals have not. They've been performing a little bit better to be a little bit more competitive in the race now. Like we've been saying every week, it's early. It's becoming less early in the season now that we are in mid-May.
Mhm.
I think that
Yep.
excuse is quickly running out.
Yeah.
Uh, but what would you say if you are that outsider and saying, "Listen, the Reds are still in it. They have right now they're 20 and 23, and the Brewers 21 and 23, Cardinals 23 and 20. We are a couple good series away from reclaiming that second place spot, and depending on what happens to the Cubs, we could be fighting for first. It's only May. What do you say to that?"
I haven't seen anything from them that says otherwise. Their schedule has been incredibly easy. They haven't played any like World Series contending team at all,
Mm.
and I can just see now how that's going to go down the line. We're struggling against teams like who are we playing? The White Sox, the Cardinals. Are the Cardinals under 500?
No, they're
No,
23 and
no,
20.
no.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
surprising. But still, my point still stands. We have not played any of the top dogs like Dodgers, Mets,
The
Padres.
best team that we've played so far is
And
probably the Giants.
yeah, and I
Yeah.
think we split with them. Correct?
Yeah, we had a bad first series. I think we lost 2 of the
We
3 or
came
something like that, and then we,
Mhm.
did better
One
in second
oh
time
three.
around in San
Yep.
Francisco, yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. Two of three away. They won two in Cincinnati.
But still, the pitching's been the starting pitching has been fantastic. The bullpen, not so much, and then obviously the lineup we've discussed numerous times. I don't see anything in that lineup that if I were a pitcher on the other team, is there anybody in that lineup that you're scared of? Like that you go into that game as a starting pitcher being like, I gotta pitch carefully to this guy. Even Ellie.
Mhm.
Ellie's like our best hitter probably, maybe Gavin Lux.
Or
Um,
Austin Hayes had that really good stretch.
Austin Hayes,
He came back from injury, I believe, early this week or late last week or something like that. Or maybe
Mm.
it's been over a week at this point. Time is kind of blending together a little
Yeah,
bit
it is.
because
there's
nothing substantial has happened.
Ugh.
there's nobody in that lineup that scares me as an opposing pitcher. You can literally just go down the lineup and pitch normally to every guy. I mean, Ellie's hitting like 245. I know in this day and age in baseball, that's decent, which is sad, but that's another topic.
It's not followed up with home runs though. It's not being balanced out with home runs.
No, his power. I think he has maybe 6 home runs, 6 or 7, just
Mhm.
fine. He'll hit 25 a year, but he's not the power guy that we all envisioned when he got called up.
Mhm.
I think his stolen base totals are down, if I'm not mistaken.
I that sounds right, but he has increased his productivity recently.
Okay.
I think you're right though. I don't think he's gonna hit another 60 stolen bases like he did last year.
No, he'll probably top out around 40. Still good production, but yeah, that's all I gotta say. They just don't scare me as an opposing team.
You know, it's really hard to talk about this team because it's easy to check out. I mean, there can be stretches where a few days I don't really.
Yeah.
It sounds bad, but I don't even know what's going on because
Mhm.
it's hard to remain focused on a team that hasn't found it in mid-May. And going back to the division standings, 5 games back, you say, oh, that's not too bad. But this is kind of, a week ago, it was like a game back, or 2 weeks ago, it was a game back. Now it was 2 games, 3 games. So we are slipping. We've been slipping for a few weeks now. And that gap is just going to get wider if this lineup doesn't find it soon. And the outsider looking in, it's only May. Okay. Yes. But like you said, John, that excuse is only relevant for so much time before you start to say, okay, when is this going to start clicking? Because we're looking at almost 2 months now into the season. And if your lineup is putting up the numbers the Reds are putting up right now, I'm super worried in June. I'm super concerned because that gap is going to get wider and wider. And the more time passes and the more time we don't get those hits, the less success this team will have. It's just, it's point blank. You can see it. Everybody can see it. And that's why it's easy to check out and say, I don't really want to watch the Reds. I might want to watch some playoff hockey or FC Cincinnati or, spend your money elsewhere. Look elsewhere. Find your entertainment elsewhere. And then,
go outside, enjoy the nice sun.
Yeah. We're recording this during the day for the first time. Enjoy the sun. Get outside. Touch some grass. So I don't know, man. It is depressing, but it's not over. It won't be over until the end of the year, obviously. But right now, not looking great. The Cardinals have won 9 of their last 10. That's kind of insane.
Mm-hmm.
And they've bumped their away record up. You said they were 2-14 on the road. They're 8-14 now. So it doesn't seem like they've lost an away game since the Red series, if I'm correct. Which maybe we gave them that
like
spark.
that. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think after the Red series, they kind of went on a run.
That's
They
good for them.
From us, so that's when it started.
Yeah, but we're 3 games. What are we? 3 games under 500.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Going into a bad White Sox team tonight. Pete Rose night. Ooh.
Yeah.
Thank you, Rob. Thank you, Rob, for everything.
I think a big problem too is that what you guys mentioned with like who are you afraid of in this lineup? The best that the Reds had to offer in terms of hitting has been with players who you could argue are like streaky guys. It's like if you're relying on people like Austin Hayes, who was an all-star, but kind of slipped last year, and now he's on a new team. Maybe he's having that new team good luck, or like same to Gavin Lux, who is a veteran in the game, and you expect him to perform at that level. But Jose Trevino, we cannot rely on him to be the sole provider of these hits. He's not the guy that right now, if you're like who you're afraid of, might be those guys who just find a way to get on base, or like maybe like a Espinal kind of guy or something like that.
These are castaways from other teams.
Yeah.
That they're just dumping on the Reds for cheap. They're, oh yeah, Reds will take them, sure. And then we plug them as starting guys in our lineup, expecting them to bring us to a World Series or a deep playoff run. Like, it's not going to happen.
And when it does happen for a stretch of a couple of weeks, everyone's happy with it. It's like, wow, what a 40 chess move that we made. Picked up these guys who were, looked down upon and not worthy of being on the previous team. But wow, we saw the gold in them. It's gonna end, and clearly, it's not enough to keep us above 500 right now.
I always forget about that guy, dude.
Because we have so many of the Hunter Renfros of the world that just come here.
The rejects of baseball coming over to the Reds, and I don't want that's actually mean because Gavin Lux has been one of our best this year. So
yeah, the Dodgers had to make room for better all-stars, than the Gavin
Lux. In 2019, if we were doing this podcast, we would have also said the same thing about Dietrich. We'd be like, well, they hit on Dietrich. It's like, well.
For a month.
Yeah, but right now, if we were in 2019 in mid-May, Dietrich would be the hottest player in the world. We gotta wait until August until we can adequately judge these guys.
Why don't somebody call up Aristides Aquino and see what he's up to?
He's playing in the Mexican League or something.
I think he is. Yeah.
Him and him and another Reds cast off are
Peraza?
playing up there. No. Why am I blanking on his
Is this
name?
is this
Just
trivia?
we were just talking about him. Nick Senzel
Nick
is playing there
Senzel.
after starting the season, I think with the Nationals, right?
Yeah, you're like,
Yeah, he was on
He
he
kind of
was in
got
the
off to like
system.
he got off to kind of like a lukewarm start. It's like, okay, I'm happy for him. He's finding some success.
Yeah.
That was short lived. I think most people could have predicted that, and now he's not playing
Oh,
in America
man, our
anymore,
number one
in the USA
prospect.
at least.
Our number
Yeah.
one prospect.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh my god, man. Yeah, it's I just spelled his name wrong too. That's hilarious, man.
Senzel or Aquino.
Senzel. I said Sensel. Sensel.
Ben, do you remember? I'm sure you do. It was like since I was with the Reds, this may have been Jim Riggleman timeline at this
Why
point.
is Jim Riggleman so significant in your
Is
world,
this
Josh?
right? I
He's
don't.
an icon for this franchise.
Yeah, he is. He's like no one else. I love Jim Riggleman. I don't remember exactly when it was. Maybe it was after that. But after a game, Reds lost. I'm pretty sure because we got down to the first
that
base
thing.
line. Like we were like 3 rows back from the netting behind home plate, and we were cheering for the team afterwards. Whatever. They're just kind of hanging out. I think some family had gone onto the field, and this guy started yelling at Nick Senzel, just big guy, big man with his kids screaming at Nick Senzel. Oh my god, he was furious because Nick Senzel wouldn't sign an autograph or something like that, or he wasn't like paying attention to the kids. He's like, "These kids are your fans, and you're injured all the time." And Nick Senzel did not like that because he started screaming back
Yeah,
at
it
him.
was like a
What?
like on the field.
Yeah.
And you, me, and Eric were just like, "What the fuck? What the hell's going on here?"
Yeah. Yeah. He was being held back by one of the teammates at the
Like
time.
Dietrich or something. Dietrich's
Uh,
giant
he-
muscles.
He was screaming, and lo and behold, what happened the next day? Nick Senzel put on the IL.
Oh my
That was the
god.
story of that man's career as a Red, and really his in the MLB. Just so much disappointment. I remember that so vividly though, because I never saw a player in person act like that to a fan and
He
respond
probably
in a
Yeah.
way.
knew what was gonna come the next day.
Yeah, he
He's
probably knew
everything going on, and that guy just got under his skin. He was probably Senzel probably wasn't having a good day already, and this douchebag, like literally, Senzel's on the field talking to his family and probably his girlfriend or his wife. I don't know, just like catching up, like having a good time, and this guy just ruins it. Like,
yeah.
bro, just stay off. Like, he's a bad influence to his kids, and like,
Yeah.
God, just sucks.
I want to say I think heckling is a part of every sport, and I don't discourage it. But when you start to be like mean and like a little bit of some jokes and banter, fine. But when you start to get a little mean and personal, and you feel like these athletes owe you something, that's a little too far there. That's weird.
I think heckling is fine during the game. After the game,
Yes,
not so much.
I agree.
Like, let the players be themselves. They're not playing anymore. They're not entertaining you anymore. Let them go home and live their lives. They're human beings. Like, come on.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think it's just part of the game to be a fan in those moments. Give some shit. I mean, we were getting blown out one time by the Braves, and I just remember I was giving it to whoever was in center field that day because it was funny. And but it was completely innocuous. It was just probably annoying to him and maybe to the people around me, but there was no trying to get under your skin about being injured and having a career
it's not malicious.
It's not malicious. So it's part of the game.
Also,
But yeah, that sounds fucked up.
I love heckling other fans, maybe even more. I always think about when the Mets came to town. Some Mets fans were sitting a couple rows ahead of me, and I bet you were there too, Ben. And we were just, I think we're a bad influence on each other.
I do remember that actually.
we were yelling at him, and I forget what we were saying, but he would turn his head back and see like who said that? What's going on?
I think
And
that
you're
was
just
the
like,
game that Benson hit the walk-off home run,
it
right?
was. It
Yeah,
was.
yeah.
Yes.
That was such
Oh
a
my
fun
God.
game because I think who was the manager for the Mets like 2 years ago? He went out to the field and was like
Oh.
arguing. I think he got tossed. So it was a really energetic
Buck
crowd.
Showalter. Buck Showalter.
Oh.
Maybe
that?
no. I don't know who it was. Anyways, it was a really energetic crowd. We were down close to the field. It was just a great night, just heckling with the Mets fans. And then up comes Benson in the bottom of the ninth to hit his walk-off home run, spikes the bat. Like,
I remember that night. I wasn't there, obviously. I was watching, but
But the
man.
heckling between fans is what makes sports great to me. Like, it's part of it. Like, I
Yeah.
love the banter and the going back and forth.
Yeah, I might be a little bit biased. I think Mets fans are a lot of fun too. I think they're good spirit. They have a good spirit for the game, and they're good sports too. Generally, you find a bad apple every now and then, but
Oh, of course.
That's gonna happen. Yeah. I mean, that Reds fan who was yelling at Nick Senzel was. I don't want him to represent the fandom. What little we have of it, you know.
How many people are going to be out for Pete Rose night tonight? You think it's going to be a sold out? Do you think Rob Manfred somehow got this to be a sold out Wednesday night?
The only way the Reds draw fans is opening day, bobbleheads, and then some celebration for old nostalgic Reds player from the Big Red Machine. It's
How many times has George Foster thrown out a pitch?
Isn't he dead?
No, he's not dead.
Oh, I'm thinking of George Foreman.
No, it might. Yeah, I don't think he's dead. Unless
he's alive.
Recently.
Yeah. That's it.
Right. We always fall back on the same core guys. Anyone who's on the Big Red Machine. Yeah. Really. Yeah.
Or occasionally the '90s player, the wire to wire. Like, I'm so sick and tired of hearing about those teams. I could not care less at this point.
Because we weren't alive to watch these teams.
No, but still, like, you can still celebrate those wins as a fan, but also that's all the Reds have. And that's for the last 30 plus years. Like, no, I don't care about the Big Red Machine at all. Like, when they had if they have like another grade 8 celebration on the field, like, it's of course is going to bring in a shit ton of Reds fans. They'll probably have a sellout that day, but to me, I couldn't care less.
Yeah,
it's
cool like talking about the Beatles today. It's like, we get it. They were the most influential rock band probably of all time.
They're good. It's been 6 years.
Let's move on, okay? Like,
yeah,
I get it. We all understand the Big Red Machine. You know,
one of the best baseball teams of all time, but at the same time, we have to look forward, look to the future, and unfortunately, that future looks a bit compromised and a little dark and stormy. So, Reds struggling. We got more games. The White Sox coming right up. Thanks for listening, guys.
Wait, before we go, really quick, how on a give me a percentage of how optimistic you are in, let's say, the next let's say the next like 2 weeks. You know, let's close out the month of May. Like, how competitive? Like, are we gonna find a stride? We've seen it before this season where the Reds have hit a couple series win streak and have been on the up tilt, but I'm at like a 30% right now. I don't really feel super good. 40?
Yeah,
that's pretty good.
I'm probably like maybe 10% optimistic.
Yeah. 10%. Oh my
I feel like the Pete Rose stuff really put you in a weird spot.
That put me off. It just feels so fabricated. I just didn't like the tone of the commissioner. I don't like how the Reds are trying to capitalize off this right now in one of their worst stretches of the year. Yeah. It just, everything feels so dirty about it. So I'm not into this team right now. I think it can get better, but right now it looks pretty bleak.
Yep, I hear you.
Well,
anyway, thank you, Drew, for giving us some insight on the Guardians. Love you, dude. That's our commissioner for fantasy baseball, by the way. I'm sure
we've talked about it.
You probably talked about it.
Yeah. All right.
Anyway, sign us off, Ben.
Make sure to come back next week. If you want to like and subscribe, I don't care. Do it. Don't do it. Go Leafs. Wow. Win game
Go
5,
Leafs.
baby.
Yep.
Go
Go
Leafs.
Caps.
Let's win game 5, baby.